The series begins with a woman named Yo-room who faced many hardships and eventually gave up trying to survive in the tough life of the capital city. At that time, she worked at a book publishing company and had to deal with colleagues who always took advantage of her without showing any appreciation. Despite being mistreated, she remained patient and tried her best to keep going. The only person Yo-room had to lean on was her boyfriend, but after being together for 6 years, she decided to end the relationship because she found him too passive and exhausting. This made her feel even more alone and helpless. As if that wasn't enough, Yo-room's mother, who was the only light in her life, passed away, leaving her heartbroken and shattered. Yo-room loved her mother deeply and had promised to make her happy someday. However, with her mother's passing, all hope and motivation to live life to the fullest vanished from her heart. Yo-room had been enduring mistreatment from those around her and trying to survive as best as she could. However, one day, an unexpected incident caused her to be late for work. As she noticed the arrival of summer, something stirred in her heart, prompting her to break away from her routine. She even ignored calls from her boss and smiled contentedly, feeling as if she had been transported to another world. This experience led her to make a life-changing decision, which was to quit her job, pack her essentials in a backpack, and sell everything else online. Yo-room then traveled to a small town called Angok, where she joyfully greeted the beach and decided to spend her time relaxing. She wanted to exchange her old gloomy life for a new adventure in the city. After basking in the beautiful beach atmosphere, she began exploring the village and stumbled upon a library. There, she met a shy guy named Dae-bom. Soon after, Yo-room asked Dae-bom about the location of the nearest real estate agency but mistakenly addressed him as a woman. Feeling embarrassed, she quickly left. Later on, she encountered some children who called her Ajima, which mean auntie, and asked her to kick a ball. Annoyed, Yo-room kicked the ball, causing it to bounce high and hit Dae-bom on the head. Despite his reserved demeanor, he showed kindness and helped her, giving her a map to the nearest real estate agency. Shortly after, Yo-room followed a map that led her to a man who showed her around the village to find a suitable place to stay. Then, she decided to rent an old building that was very cheap despite being almost uninhabitable. The owner was fine with it, but his son felt resentful about it. However, Yo-room didn't let it bother her and began to explore the village to find answers about how she should live her life. She spent her days reading books in the library. One day, a rebellious girl named Kim-bom came to the library and threw Yo-room's bag from her favorite spot. At that time, their phones got accidentally exchanged, but they eventually resolved the misunderstanding. Later that day, Yo-room went out to eat and ended up drinking too much soju. Then, she wandered the streets until Dae-bom found her and looked after her until she returned to the library where she slept until night. There, he tried to wake her up without touching her, but he couldn't and had to wait for her all night. Not long after, Yo-room and Dae-bom ended up getting locked in the library together. At that moment, since Dae-bom was not used to talking to strangers, he only handed her a letter to explain the situation when he woke up. They went through a series of embarrassing incidents that night. When Yo-room rushed home, someone with a sinister aura watched her from a distance. Yo-room tried her best to tidy up her spacious residence, but she worried about her dwindling savings. However, she came up with a frugal living plan so she could survive for a year without a job. Her current activities were a dream for many people. She could read books all day, watch movie marathons all night, exercise, and listen to the peaceful atmosphere of nature whenever she wanted. One day, Yo-room saw an old grandmother having trouble taking care of her drunk son, so she helped drive them both to their house. The grandmother was grateful, and when Yo-room finally returned home, she was greeted by 3 little children. It turned out they were troops paid by a man named Song-min to annoy Yo-room and frustrate her. Song-min really wanted Yo-room to move out so he could sell his father's building. Then, he recruited his son Bae-jun and the previous rebellious girl, Kim-bom, who used to skip school and come to the library. However, previously, Kim-bom didn't want to interfere with anything. But when she was offered $50 in return, her heart sank because she was asked to destroy library books and make someone named Yo-room responsible for it. This made the librarian Ji-young very angry because the books that were damaged were very expensive. Luckily, Dae-bom tried everything he could to help Yo-room. However, Kim-bom regretted what she did after hearing the story of how Yo-room helped her beloved grandmother. So she decided to return the money. Song-min believed that Yo-room was not a bad person and didn't deserve to be bothered. At the library, Dae-bom began to make progress. He stopped communicating with Yo-room using letters, which showed that he no longer saw her as a stranger. Yo-room apologized to Ji-young and Dae-bom by giving them candy. She also gave some to Kim-bom, who never attended school and always spent her time drawing in the library. After that, Kim-bom started paying attention to Yo-room and tried to approach her. In a town, Kim-bom is known as the troublemaker due to her family background and the fact that she often skips school without her grandmother knowing. Meanwhile, Yo-room receives a call from her married older brother who doesn't seem to care about her and shamelessly tries to blackmail him for money. Yo-room is unaware of the troubles her younger sister is facing alone. One morning, Yo-room wakes up with cuts and dirt all over her body. She is shocked to find that all her money has been withdrawn from her account. Soon after, she rushes to the grocery store where the ATM is located and discovers the truth. It turns out that the previous night, she got drunk while trying to forget her problems and ended up having a fight with the ATM that didn't dispense all her money. The shop owner is very frustrated and takes all of Yo-room's money so it doesn't fall out of her pocket. However, Yo-room can't remember what happened after that until she asks a bank officer and watches the CCTV footage that shows her withdrawing the money and putting it in a plastic bag. At that time, she falls over, but Dae-bom sees what happened and immediately comes to her aid. However, Yo-room is too drunk to understand the situation, and Dae-bom is too shy to catch her when she falls. As a result, she gets injured. At that time, Dae-bom is feeling guilty because he did not take Yo-room home, and now she has lost her money. On the other hand, Yo-room is very upset and wants to find her money, so everyone comes together to help her. Sung-min is very helpful and Dae-bom even searches through a pile of garbage to find the money. But then, Yo-room starts to suspect Kim-bom, but later realizes that she misjudged her. Earlier that day, Kim-bom sneaked into Yo-room's house to prepare soup as a thank you for helping her grandmother. After a lot of searching, Yo-room gets some shocking news from Dae-bom, who has brought the money home without realizing it. Although she is a bit upset, she knows that it was her own fault for being negligent. Later that night, Kim-bom is waiting for Yo-room to come home because her grandmother wants to see her. However, she invites Kim-bom to eat ramen together, and while they are eating, they notice someone peeking at them from outside the room. It turns out to be Jae-hoon, a high school student who is worried about Kim-bom because she rarely goes to school. Shortly after that, Sung-min comes to meet Yo-room to tell her something important. In the morning, Bae-jun stumbled upon Yo-room's lost money and thought it was a lucky find. However, when he heard about the missing money announcement in the village, he confided in Dae-bom instead of telling his father. As a result, he lied to Yo-room about the money's whereabouts. Despite Sung-min's annoying behavior, he is a good father who tries to make amends by giving Yo-room some old furniture, fixing the leaky pipes in her house, and reinforcing her locks. After the chaos surrounding the lost money, Yo-room, Kim-bom, and Jae-hoon all had dinner together and named Yo-room's dog Gol, which means winter. The name suited Yo-room, who was like summer, while Kim-bom represented spring. On the other hand, Bae-jun was shocked to find an envelope filled with money in his father's car. Then, he quickly reported it, giving up any claim to the money. Sung-min smiled upon realizing that the money was a gift from Yo-room as a way of thanking him for his help. Soon after, Yo-room discovered that Dae-bom used to live in a billiard place where her parents used to run the business. When Dae-bom was younger, he was not used to talking to strangers. However, one day he found his older sister who had already passed away. His father blamed him for leaving his older brother alone, which caused him to feel guilty. Not long after, Dae-bom reported his father to the police, and his father ended up in prison. Unfortunately, his mother could not handle the situation and ended up taking her own life, which made Dae-bom's childhood very difficult. As a result, he has had trouble communicating with strangers. Recently, Yo-room apologized to Dae-bom for misunderstanding him and gave him a note. At that time, he was happy to find out that Yo-room had been collecting notes from him all this time. Then, their relationship grew closer as they conducted an interview with an elderly resident. On the other hand, Kim-bom is facing her own problems at school. She is always being bullied by her seniors because she is not very friendly. This situation made her lazy to go to school, and she would spend most of her time alone in the city library. Meanwhile, one of the teachers and also Jae-hoon's aunt always forbade him from having contact with Kim-bom because she was considered problematic. Despite this, Jae-hoon never gave up on approaching her. On the other hand, Ji-young has finally passed the civil service exam after attempting it several times. She will soon be employed in Seoul, and her friends, including Sung-min, take her out for a celebratory dinner. During the dinner, Dae-bom's indifference towards Yo-room catches Ji-young off guard. But unexpectedly, he starts talking a lot. However, some of the questions asked by Dae-bom made Yo-room feel uncomfortable, and Ji-young even mentioned Kim-bom's habit of frequently skipping school and appeared worried about her carefree lifestyle. Kim-bom, who overheard this conversation, was angry because Ji-young obviously did not know anything about her. Later, as Kim-bom and Jae-hoon left, Ji-young continued talking with Yo-room in another place. Since Ji-young will leave Angok soon, she is worried about Dae-bom, who seems to be wasting away in the city. What many people do not know is that Dae-bom is actually a mathematician, just like his older brother, and he entered university when he was only 17. However, for some reason, he chooses to live a simple life in Angok without doing much. Yo-room somewhat understands his decision because, according to her, not everyone needs to have high goals in life. Yo-room said she always works hard at her job but feels like she she isn't progressing like others around her. So, instead of trying to meet other people's expectations, she changes her mindset and decides to live life on her own terms. She believes that Kim Bom is doing the same thing and thinks that she'll be okay. The next day, Kim Bom gets into another fight with her bullies, and she takes her anger out on her father when she gets home. That's why she's being bullied in the first place. People started making fun of her because she was branded as a drunken child. Then, she leaves her house with a scarred face and meets Yo-room, who welcomes her warmly. Without asking any questions, Yo-room hugs Kim Bom and tells her not to get hurt anymore. Hearing that, Kim Bom is touched and grateful that Yo-room accepts her sincerely and doesn't force her to share her story. She's also thankful for her little brother who's always there for her and for Jae-hoon, who cares for her. Now, she has an older sister like Yo-room to lean on. Shortly after, when Kim Bom returned home, she found her father in a bad state due to alcohol and trying to grab a sharp object in anger. In an attempt to stop him, she accidentally got stabbed and had to undergo surgery. Meanwhile, Dae-bom got the news about the incident and rushed to the hospital thinking it was Yo-room who got hurt, but later found out it was Kim Bom. Then, he decided to take care of Gol and borrowed some books for Yo-room, who would be busy at the hospital with Kim Bom. However, Kim Bom faced a tough decision that she wanted to report her father's actions to the police and get insurance, but it would make her grandmother sad to see her son in prison. On the other hand, if she admitted the injury was self-inflicted, her family would not be able to pay for the medical expenses. Then, Sung-min tried to help in his own small way, and Yo-room even offered a deposit on her rent to use as a down payment for Kim Bom's treatment. Suddenly, an anonymous person surprisingly covered her hospital bill and Yo-room didn't have to leave town. The incident made Kim Bom's father realize his mistake and he decided to improve himself at a rehabilitation center. Soon after, everyone celebrated Kim Bom's recovery with a party on the rooftop of the billiard building. At that time, Yo-room was also happy and started to enjoy her new living environment. After a while, summer vacation came. Then, Kim Bom's grandmother requested Yo-room to accompany her granddaughter on vacation at an inn to help her forget the traumatic incident that happened to her recently. Hearing that, Yo-room was delighted to accept the offer, but Jae-hoon heard about it and invited himself to come along. He also invited Dae-bom to join them. Despite leaving his academic life behind, Dae-bom's professors were eager for him to return because he almost solved a mathematical theory, making him the first Korean to have his own theory. At that time, he found himself drawn back to the world of mathematics, and while solving equations on the blackboard, he looked like a completely different person, excited and passionate about his work. Meanwhile, at a party held at Yo-room's house, Dae-bom was absent, but he tried to catch up. However, he was still traumatized by the death of his older sister in the billiard room, and he couldn't bring himself to enter Yo-room's house. At that time, Ji-young felt unhappy when Dae-bom made a new friend with Yo-room. This is because he spent more time with Yo-room than with her. The only thing that made her feel better was Sung-min, who had feelings for her. On the other hand, Dae-bom's first date with Yo-room started well, but things quickly went downhill when he saw graffiti on Yo-room's house with her older sister's name on it. This made him very upset, and he ran away without looking back. He had a panic attack when he got home and had hallucinations about his childhood, including flashbacks of being questioned by the police about his brother's death. At that time, the police suspected Dae-bom of being responsible for his sister's death because they thought he was jealous of her and wanted his father's attention. After this incident, the building owner and the local police decided to install CCTV to keep an eye on the area. The next day, Ji-young shocked everyone when she revealed that the anonymous person paying for Kim Bom's hospital bills was none other than Dae-bom himself. But the price he paid was high that he was willing to sell his research papers to pay for the bills. At that time, Yo-room was worried about the bill problem, so Dae-bom contacted his former professor to sell his papers, but now the professor is in trouble for being accused of stealing other people's inventions. Yo-room never expected that Dae-bom cared so much for her, but it made her feel guilty. There, Ji-young was concerned that Dae-bom would shut himself away at home again, as he did in the past, after seeing acts of vandalism that reminded him of his older sister's death. She hoped that Yo-room could persuade Dae-bom to return to Seoul and solve his professor's problems, as he was the main reason why Dae-bom wanted to sell his paper and caused all this trouble. Despite what had happened, Yo-room's plans for a vacation with Kim Bom continued, and surprisingly, Dae-bom left his panic and trauma behind to join them on their fun trip. However, Jae-hoon accidentally left a suitcase filled with food on the bus, and they were forced to find and make their own food. While everyone was having fun, Sung-min asked Ji-young out for a meal to cheer her up, but she knew that Sung-min liked her even though she didn't have feelings for him. At night, after cooking and eating together, Jae-hoon received a message from the bus station informing him that they would deliver his suitcase to the nearest bus stop. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he asked Kim Bom to go out with him alone, and there he finally revealed to her why he was so fond of her. Shortly after, Jae-hoon confessed that he was delighted to have met Kim Bom, and then he proceeded to tell her about his experience when he was in 6th grade. Back then, he and his parents moved to America, but he had a hard time because he was teased and bullied for his accent. Eventually, he retaliated and was expelled from school. Despite his parents being successful and intelligent, Jae-hoon felt like he was not good enough for them and embarrassed them. Jae-hoon then shared how he developed feelings for Kim Bom. It all started when they were in the same class, and he thought he could finally live peacefully in Korea, but people still mistreated him because of his English proficiency. Feeling helpless and ashamed, Kim Bom reached out to him and showed him kindness when no one else did. She was the first person to talk to him, and her compassionate nature stole his heart. Meanwhile, Yeorum expresses her feelings of guilt to Dae-bom, wondering what would have happened if he had never come to Angok City and if they had never crossed paths at the library or rented the billiard place. She questions whether they would have ever formed a bond and is haunted by past traumas. But then, Dae-bom interrupts Yeorum and reassures her that he cherishes every moment they have shared together. From the night they first met at the library, to driving drunk people home, to eating ice cream and doing interviews together, to jogging in the mornings. There, Dae-bom tells Yeorum that all these moments make him happy and he doesn't want to lose her. Hearing that, her eyes fill with tears as she realizes that Dae-bom truly cares for her. But as it starts to rain, she subtly hints that perhaps he would be better off living in Seoul and leaving the past behind. Meanwhile, Kim Bom and Jae-hoon enjoy the rain together, reminiscing about their first meeting at school and how memorable it was for both of them. They are lost in a romantic conversation while Ji-young and Sung-min end their date after dinner. During their conversation, Ji-young confesses that she has feelings for Dae-bom. Then, as the vacation comes to an end, Dae-bom travels to Seoul to resolve issues with his professor. Fortunately, he successfully proves that the papers they were working on together were not stolen, but the invention still needs work. Then, he agrees to stay in Seoul and finish it. Despite the distance, he keeps in touch with Yeorum. On the other hand, Ji-young also goes to Seoul to find a place to live before starting work. Then, Dae-bom tells her that he doesn't enjoy the city life and just wants a simple and happy life. He said that he sees Ji-young as an older sister and appreciates her caring for him. Meanwhile, Yeorum finds a man vandalizing a house in Angok City. This man, Gun-ho, had previously caused Dae-bom distress with his actions. At that time, she tries to record Gun-ho, but he suddenly shows his face and startles her. He then tries to silence her to prevent her from screaming. It turns out that Gun-ho is actually the son of the previous tavern owner who had deceived Yeorum about her pet dog. He is also interested in buying the billiard building. However, the shop owner pleads with her not to report her son, who is actually autistic. She reveals that Gun-ho used to be fond of Yeorum's late brother, Dae-bom. When Dae-bom died at the pool hall, Gun-ho thought Yeorum would also be in danger there. Although the tavern owner is annoying, Yeorum tries to understand her position as a mother and forgives Gun-ho this time. However, when grandmother Kim Bom hears the story, she shares that Gun-ho is actually a good child. Hearing her words help Yeorum to calm down a bit. Then, Kim Bom also begins to see Yeorum as a friend and asks her to teach her how to read and write so she can catch up with her son, who is in rehab. Later, a policeman meets with Yeorum after seeing Gun-ho on the CCTV footage. However, Gun-ho doesn't explain what happened in detail and claims he was only playing with his dog. On the other hand, Jae-hoon and Kim Bom are now in a romantic relationship, but there's a problem that Dae-ho, who just got out of juvenile prison, is always in the middle of their relationship. At that moment, Jae-hoon feels uneasy when he sees Kim Bom hugging Dae-ho, and it makes him jealous. Meanwhile, Yeorum spends a lot of time with Kim Bom and her grandmother, and she's like a part of their family. Seeing that, Kim Bom seems very happy these days and has regained her enthusiasm for school. Not long after, Yeorum finally gets a chance to meet Dae-bom in between their busy schedules, and they even go to the movies together, although he has to return to Seoul afterwards. On the other hand, Kim Bom is having relationship problems with Jae-hoon. Although she doesn't have feelings for her best friend, she can't just abandon him either. She's been friends with him since they were kids, and they've been through a lot together. One time, Kim Bom canceled her date plans with Jae-hoon without consulting him because her best friend wanted to spend time alone with her on the beach to celebrate his birthday. However, knowing that made Jae-hoon upset and caused more tension in their relationship. It turned out that Dae-ho asked that as a last request before he became busy with work. However, Kim Bom didn't tell Jae-hoon the real reason for canceling their plans because she didn't want to disappoint him, but Jae-hoon saw her with Dae-ho and it broke his heart. Shortly after that, Kim Bom faced a tragic reality that her beloved grandmother died because of someone's actions. The CCTV footage showed that Gun-ho was the culprit, and there was graffiti with Sona's name at the crime scene, which almost certainly linked him to the crime. Hearing that news, Yeorum was shocked and had to reluctantly confess to the police that Gun-ho was also the one behind the previous graffiti case. Meanwhile, Kim Bom's father was furious with Yeorum, believing that if she had reported Gun-ho from the start, Kim Bom's grandmother might not have become a victim. He also blamed her for Kim Bom's silence about the incident. At that time, Kim Bom was too young to think rationally and needed someone to blame for her grandmother's death, and unfortunately, Yo-room became the perfect target for her anger. There, Kim Bom and her loved ones grieving while Yo-room feels guilty and believes that all the misfortunes that happened were her fault. Meanwhile, Dae-bom is unaware of what's happening in the city of Angok, and Ji-young decides not to inform him as she doesn't want to burden him. Now, Dae-bom's attention is solely on his research after reconnecting with his professor, who had previously disputed his findings, causing him to lose his motivation for mathematics. The professor provoked Dae-bom with all the problems happening around him, knowing that once he starts working on his theory, he won't stop until he finishes his paper. The professor's aim is to use Dae-bom's genius to conduct research papers with him, which could make him famous. Soon after, Ji-young learns about the professor's plan and frees Dae-bom from his grasp. However, nothing could deter Dae-bom's passion for mathematics except the news of Yo-room leaving Angok soon. He immediately stops his work and meets Yo-room to convince her to stay. Yo-room eventually decides to stay with Dae-bom for a while before leaving. On the other hand, Gunho's parents strongly believe that their son was not guilty of the crime he was being accused of and were determined to prove his innocence. Soon after, Yo-room met Gunho in custody, and after talking to him, she began to feel that something was not right about the case. She then shared her suspicions with Dae-bom, who decided to overcome his own past traumas and help her investigate the case. Although it was difficult for him, he mustered the courage to enter the billiard room, where he found an important clue. There, Dae-bom noticed that all the writing on the billiard stand was clear, even though Gunho had vision problems. This led him to suspect that someone was pretending to be Gunho and might have an interest in Yo-room. Meanwhile, Jae-hoon faced the difficult news of having to leave for America. At that time, he struggled to come to terms with the idea of separating from Kim Bom. Determined to make the most of their last day together, Jae-hoon prepared a special gift for Kim Bom, which was an iPad to help her continue to develop her incredible talent for drawing. But on this fateful day, trouble came knocking in the form of school bullies who were looking to provoke Dae-ho. Knowing the dire consequences of getting involved in a fight, Kim Bom sprang into action and rushed to his aid, leaving Jae-hoon feeling hurt and insignificant. Despite her surprise at Jae-hoon's imminent departure, Kim Bom knew that her first priority was to help her best friend. She vividly remembered how Dae-ho had once helped her fend off bullies in the past and had even been willing to sacrifice himself to be caught by the police. Desperately trying to prevent a repeat of that incident, Kim Bom tried to intervene and calm Dae-ho down. But it was too late, and Dae-ho's emotions had already taken over. In the end, the police had to be called in, leaving Kim Bom feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what to do next. After piecing together all the clues, Dae-bom finally realizes that Gunho's case is connected to the death of his own brother in the past. The perpetrator is none other than the realtor Kwak and his son Moo-chol, who also happens to be a police officer in the city of Angok. As a child, Gunho was always fascinated by Dae-bom and had accidentally witnessed a shocking incident involving him at the pool hall. During a fishing trip with Dae-bom's father, Moo-chol's true colors were revealed as he became jealous of Son-ah's intelligence and lashed out, causing serious harm. At that time, young Gunho witnessed everything from a hidden spot, while Moo-chol's name tag accidentally fell. However, due to a misunderstanding, Dae-bom accused his own father of the incident. Meanwhile, Kwak was more concerned with protecting his son than helping Dae-bom's father and even denied being with them during the fishing trip. It turned out that Gunho has been carrying a secret for a long time and writing initials that no one understands. When Kwak saw that vandalism, he was afraid that his son's past deeds would be exposed, so he planned to imprison him. Their plan was to make it look like Gunho committed a crime, but Kim Bom's grandmother arrived at the billiard place unexpectedly and changed everything. Thanks to the investigation of Dae-bom and Yo-room, the truth is finally revealed. It turns out that Kwak and his son Moo-chol are the culprits behind Gunho's imprisonment and the death of Dae-bom's older brother. After everything that happened, Dae-bom realizes that he had misjudged his father and apologizes. It becomes a valuable lesson for both father and son that Dae-bom's father must not show favoritism towards his children, and Dae-bom should not be jealous and think badly of his father. On the other hand, Kim Bom was heartbroken after her father ran away with all their savings. She felt like her world had collapsed and didn't know how to move on. However, Yo-room came to her rescue and helped her through her difficult time. Yo-room was a ray of sunshine in Kim Bom's dark life. As days passed, things in Angok town started to look up. Everyone in town found their happy endings. Yo-room decided to stay in Angok and rented a room at Kim Bom's house. She took up some light work to have more time for herself. Yo-room's favorite place to spend time was still the library. She had a routine of running with Dae-bom, who had changed a lot and had become more talkative than before. Dae-bom continued working on his theory with new acquaintances, but it was just a hobby, not a job. The next day, Kim Bom has her sights set on entering a webtoon contest, but she needs Yo-room's help to write the story. Meanwhile, Ji-young's feelings for Sung-min have not changed, but she is making an effort to be a little kinder towards him. On the other hand, Jae-hoon has returned from America after taking time to reflect on what he really wants in life. He has realized that he is head over heels in love with Kim Bom and has mustered the courage to confess his feelings for her. He even goes as far as telling her that he wants to marry her, either soon or in the future. As for Gunho's parents, they have finally purchased a billiard building and invite everyone to dinner to express their deep gratitude towards Dae-bom and Yo-room for their unwavering support and belief in their son. Although Dae-bom has not explicitly expressed his love for Yo-room, his feelings for her have been conveyed and the start of a romantic story between them has just begun. As summer comes to an end, Yo-room still finds herself in a state of uncertainty about how to live her life. However, she has come to accept this sense of peace and is grateful for it. Life is an enigma, and the answer lies in how we choose to live it. It's not enough to just talk about living life, action is the most important part of it. Every individual who has experienced trauma has their own unique path to recovery, and it's important to find a way to move forward rather than getting stuck in it. The true essence of life is not measured by how long we live, how much wealth we accumulate, or how much attention we receive, but by the lessons we learn and the happiness we find along the way. Life is a journey, and we must make the most of it by taking action, learning from our experiences, and finding joy in even the smallest of things. The series ends. The moral lesson of this series is sometimes, when life becomes overwhelming and difficult, it's important to take a step back, reevaluate our priorities, and make changes that lead to a more fulfilling life. We should surround ourselves with people who appreciate us and strive to find joy in the simple things. We should also try to be kind to others, even in difficult situations, because it can lead to unexpected positive outcomes. Finally, it's important to not give up when facing obstacles and to ask for help when needed.